Welcome back. Before the break, I asked how many iCloud users are there around the world? 210, 420, 780 million, or 1.3 billion? The answer is C, 780 million as of last year. But Apple just made a bold and hypocritical move after it famously and rightly refused the FBI's demands to unlock the iPhone of the San Bernardino terrorist back in 2015. Get this, Apple has just announced that it will build a cloud storage facility in China for its Chinese customers and then hand control over to a company owned by the Chinese government, the same communist government that restricts free speech and imprisons anyone who violates their draconian laws. You see that hypocrisy? They make a big stink about privacy over here, but then sell their souls to the Chinese for profit. Is Apple putting profit ahead of their morals? Joining me now is capitalist pig, hedge fund founder, and Fox News contributor Jonathan Hoenig. And such a lovely buttercup yellow. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
So I think it would be wonderful if Apple and Google and Facebook and some of these other tech companies got together and finally stood up to China in this realm. And if we really want to export freedom, let's have a little bit tougher actions.
You want them to go after China, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
These companies to take on China?
Yeah.
Is that it?
China.
They can't take on China. They can't
take
do
on
it.
China.
They're there to trade, Kennedy. I mean, honestly, if China wants to violate its own citizens' rights by curtailing their speech, that's on China. That's not on Apple. I mean, Apple is doing what Apple should do. It's serving its customers. It's generating profit for shareholders. And, you know, China, as troubled as it is, it's not a slave pen. It's not an enemy of the United States. And what makes America is unique are those freedoms you're talking about.
I thought you hated. I thought I was talking to the Jonathan Hoenig that hates communism. I didn't realize that I was talking to Red Chinese Jonathan Hoenig, who wants to prop up authoritarian regimes.
Well, that's exactly why the best thing for the U.S. to do, as you said, is to be the freest nation on earth,
Amen.
Not threaten other countries with trade tariffs that hurt us. So
okay, but a publicly held yet private company, which is not a government entity, going over and saying, no, you know what, this is how we do business. That's how you export freedom.
Well, you know, think about what happened during the 1980s, Kennedy. I know you weren't born back then, but you might remember, you know, brands like Pepsi and U.S. rock and roll, Western rock and roll, infiltrating the then Soviet Union, which was a real communist country and civilization, and helping to its downfall. So I actually think that companies like Apple, every toehold they can get into markets like China, they're benefiting. They're benefiting those constituencies and showing them the power of free ideas.
But it's the free ideas and the freedom of information which does not flow freely in a place like China.
Well, this is true. It doesn't flow freely in Saudi Arabia. It doesn't flow freely in Turkey and even members of NATO. That's, again, what makes the United States so unique.
They're selling out. They should stand up for freedom. They absolutely should. They should stand up for these customers' rights to access the information that are available on these devices. That's what Facebook, Apple, and Google should be doing.
Well, then they're going to be restricted to, you know, hardly any other countries. I mean, American exceptionalism, Kennedy, is that we're so exceptional. And this is on the Chinese government. This is on every authoritative government around the world. They want to violate their own citizens' rights. That's on them. It's not up to Apple or any individual company to change. And again, I think you're overstating a little bit on China. Not a slave pen, not authoritarian in certainly like a Russian type of way.
No, but they've got some liberal economic policies that directly benefit the government, but they don't necessarily directly benefit the citizens, especially, and it's not just economic mobility, it's information mobility, and they're pretty hamstrung over there.
Listen, I certainly wouldn't want to live there, but I think trade is good, and to the extent that we can trade with China, we're not only bettering our own lives, but we're bettering the lives of the citizens who engage in that. And my God, Kennedy, they deserve an iPhone too. Think about
they do deserve iPhones, but you know, these companies need to stand up for their basic policies.
But let's start with our own country standing up for those basic policies. If we have free movement, free trade, free speech in this country, then I think we can start lecturing China and ask American companies to lecture China on that.